Hello, this is Lauren Vanderveer, 7th grade language arts teacher at Benton Middle School. I am going to describe how to read a growth report from the HMH Growth Measure Reading Assessment. That is a mouthful. The growth measure is something that we give 3 times a year, beginning, middle, and end of the year, to try to gauge how well students are growing in language arts. We get these sets of numbers on the report. I'm going to describe what they mean. First, we have the HMH scaled score. The first number, the 7 in this case, indicates what grade the student is in, so this is a 7th grader. The next 2 digits indicate a percentage of the curriculum that the student has already learned when it comes to 7th grade language arts. So this particular student has learned 77% of the language arts curriculum for 7th grade, which is great because we're only halfway through the year. This next number, the 15 for this student, shows that this student's score has improved by 15 points from the beginning of the year. That change helps us estimate whether or not a student is going to make 1 year's worth of growth by the end of the year. The student proficiency indicator helps us see that. This kid is exceeding their goal, so this kid is on track to make more than 1 year's growth in 1 year. That is fantastic. Grade level equivalent looks at a student's language arts knowledge as a holistic language arts student. So it looks at not just 7th grade language arts, but all of the language arts stuff that kids might learn in school, and then figures out what their instructional level is. This is interesting because sometimes we will have students who have a scaled score that show that they are right on track with their 7th grade curriculum, but their grade level equivalent will be significantly, significantly lower, like say at 6.5. I believe what this shows is that some of our students have gaps from previous years. Perhaps when there was COVID and remote schooling, maybe in 5th or 6th grade, our students missed out on learning some of that content. Let's see, I need to change to my cursor. There we go. Lexile level. This is a measure of how complicated a text a student can read. The higher the Lexile number is, the harder it is to read something. We can put these numbers into context in the real world by looking at this chart from the company who made the Lexile measure. These folks say that when students graduate high school, they should be at a 1300 Lexile in order to comfortably read whatever materials they may encounter in college or their career right out of high school. So to hit that 1300 by the time they graduate high school, they should have an 1120 at the end of 7th grade. They start 7th grade at a 970 if they're all just kind of tracking and following this arc to hit 1385 by the time they graduate. This student has a very high Lexile for her grade and age, so she is already pretty close to hitting that 1385 that Lexile says that they should have when they graduate. So this kid's going to do great stuff with reading. This graph here that looks like a color spectrum, it is showing the HMH scaled score from 700 to 799. 700 is the lowest you can get, 799 is the highest. The dots indicate a classmate's score, and the student that the report is for, their score is indicated by a big black dot with their initials inside the dot. I've covered up the student's initials. This icon here that looks like somebody pointing to a chalkboard is where the class average has ended up. So you can see we've got quite a spread. This particular student is slightly above average, and it's just kind of interesting to see how kids are in comparison to their classmates. The domain performance levels, I do not have a great understanding of. HMH hasn't done a good job of explaining it to us so far. But what I've been able to work out is that this splits the results of the growth measure into information that is just about reading comprehension, which is how well a student understands what they've read, and then language, which I assume means everything else that a language arts student would have to know. So this particular student, they're on the on-level band with 6 other students, and there are 11 students ahead of them in the above-level band when it comes to reading comprehension. In language, which I assume means things like ability to tell the difference between a metaphor and a simile, or maybe grammar as well, the student is on the on-level band with 9 other students, and there are 9 students ahead of that group in the above level section. So that's a quick run through of the growth report for HMH. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.